Okay, guys, gonna be throwing out a lot of these videos. Actually, need to put them all in a folder playlist. Um, when you're uploading to OBS, you get a lot of settings. If you've made it to this page, it's because you do HDR uploading via the RTMPS HDR protocol that YouTube released last year. So I'm probably about a year old, I want to say at this point. Prior to that, it was all HLS. The RTMPS, I don't want to get into the specifics, but it's better on the back end apparently, and pretty much what YouTube prefers you to use if you are going to be doing any HDR upload streaming with them. But it's better on the back end. I am right now trying to find out what the best bit rate is for OBS that YouTube isn't going to spit back at us that it's over their limit. OBS says their limit is 51,000 megabytes per second. But even in the constant bit rate, I've seen that it's not constant. It attempts to be as constant. Oh, there we go. Just had some encoding and rendering lag. That's not good because I'm doing fastest. So there shouldn't be any lag. So there are about 4 settings. I'm going to go ahead and I don't have well, I suppose I could set up a screen. Sources. Add. Window. Capture. Huh. No, I don't want to do window capture. I want to do display capture. So, it's a little hard to look at. Just don't look at that. Okay. Cover that up. Wow, we're getting some coding and rendering lag. That could have just been from that loop that I kind of just threw in it. That wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. Oh, well, we're getting some. Get some anyway. So this might not be the optimal preset. There's 4 things, 4 settings I'm looking at for this one. I'm looking at okay, so no matter what, it's going to be HEVC, NVEC. That one's not changing. Your encoder's not changing. If you want to do HDR, it's got to be that. Okay. Next, constant bit rate is what we're trying right now. Oh look, looks like I can change this midstream. I don't want to do that though. That would well, I guess we could. Yeah, might as well. I am trying right now. I am trying to adjust as least as possible. YouTube says they want this profile to be main 10. So that I have not changed, or that I change every time. And then it is these 4 settings right here that mainly these 3. Well, 4. I'm sorry. These top 5, but mainly these 2 and these 2. This middle one, 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds should be good. I'll explain what that does, but right now, bit rate we're looking good because it's saying excellent. The constant I'm gonna leave alone until I rule out everything else. So I just switched it to this ultra low tuning latency, trying to make sure that my audio stays synced up with my video as tight as possible, so that it just gives you that real tight experience with the game, the shooting and all that. Any kind of effects that line up. So I tried this ultra low latency. I'm getting these skipped frames, missed frames due to encoding and rendering lag. If it can't encode it, it can't render it. So you can have rendering lag without encoding lag, but you can't have encoding lag without rendering lag. Oh, least but not last setting that I'm looking at is frames per second. Now, my capture card and my video capture only do 30. Well, no, take that back. My one camera does do 60, but only in 1080 mode, and so I'm not gonna change that down to 1080. Which makes you have to stretch it out anyway. So it's like no reason to do that. I'm looking to see if OBS wants it. Would prefer it to be 60, just like it's gonna like be able to just do more with that. With the option to render the other two frames, to do something different with them. I don't know. I'm not, and I guess if you're doing twice as many frames, but some skip, is it as big of a deal? Do you even notice it? I mean, these are frames that didn't encode, so it's not like it's necessarily the in-between ones, though. So that doesn't necessarily make sense. That I may end up waiting until I figure out everything else again and going back to this, making this the last test that I do. So I actually need to probably fix this. Except I can't change this midstream. Okay. I don't like that those frames are doing that. I'm trying to get that to stop. Mainly, at the first thing I was trying to do was try to get my bit rate back up as high as possible without having YouTube tell me. They give you a message down here in the YouTube live control panel in OBS. It'll kick back a message saying here that the bit rate is too high, and then it really only wanted 23,500 kilobytes per second, which, I mean, my connection can do 500 on Wi-Fi. So if that's the case, I could do 500 on Wi-Fi, and I've got like 800 wired. I mean, 50 for me is no big deal. I've still got more than enough for everything else. So I'd prefer to give it as much as possible. I feel like they just aren't really sure what they want. I mean, you've got one here, it says 51,000. But if you try to do 51,000, they say it's too much. Now keep in mind that it moves around. So you may set it at 51,000 and it may end up moving around up to like 53, 54, 55. So, maybe they're saying they don't even want that, those highs. So that's what I'm noticing with this. With this setting, I had it at 48. And I got that message again because I believe that the range that it moves around is about 5,000. So I might be able to kick it up another notch to like 46,000, back up to 46,000. I don't know. So I'm going to mess around with all these things here and see if like moving this preset back up, this up and keeping this low would be, which makes more of a difference. People haven't really done a deep dive on that, and especially in regard to gaming. Okay, so I want this to stop now. I want the skipped frames to stop. So I'm gonna actually start with kicking this back just to low latency because I had it at low latency and I wasn't experiencing any problems. And I think that anytime you use the ultra or the high, or ultra low or ultra high, you're asking for problems. So let's go ahead and reset that. Or apply that. Reset. Oop. Skip frames right away. No bueno. Oh. Already doing it. I'm still getting those every once in a while. I went earlier and didn't see that at all. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and change it back to 30 frames and see if I can get this to stop before I change that back, because that was more of a curiosity. I've got to stop the stream for that. Not that anyone. All right, yeah, we switched back to 30 frames per second from the 60, and immediately as we get into here. It's that's funny though that I'm noticing that doesn't have to encode every frame when it's not doing show you guys what I'm talking about. Before these two numbers matched for the most part. Now it's like it's rendering. It can render a few extra frames here and there when it doesn't require any encoding. So I bet it's like when you when I switched back to the as soon as more rendering encoding was required and stuff started moving around again. That changed. Never mind. I was making a bad point. But maybe go back to zombies. Now it matches now. We're not getting quite as many frames drop. But gotta ask yourself, better to have the drop frames and extra frames that can be dropped than no frames at all. I don't know. I can see that I just like that it's not dropping anything. I think the encoding part of it is what I don't like. I don't like that it's not jiving. All right. $45,000 megabytes per second. Yep, that's what I would suggest to anyone. These other settings, I'm not sure yet, but 45,000 CBR is what I'd recommend for 4K, 30 frames per second HDR. Now, some of you guys might be doing 60. I don't know about that. This is 30. I need to change the description to 30. Like most people, movies are 24. Okay, so 30 is still an extra 25% frames over a movie. So it can still look just as good. You watch for movies at 24 frames per second all the time, and you never see an issue in the motion. the more than that is a perception thing, and it's mainly probably it has to do with input and what you perceive on the other end. Cool. Right, so we fixed that. My guess is because I'm feeding it so many megabytes per second that the other presets, that fastest one versus quality doesn't really matter as much. That's like something I think that's more so there when it's got to squeeze out. Oh, here we go. 43,000 is higher than the recommended. $45,000 is not it then. All right. Let's try 40. Because I did 35. I didn't have any problem with that. Let's do 40. It's like in 40. Huh. Well, yeah, because it's still peaking up to 45,000 even though it's set at 40. Wow. $38,000. We're giving me the stats down at the bottom. Still. But it's still saying 45,000. Maybe I need to stop. Well, it's past my bedtime anyway, guys. I'll pick this up